practical ideas on helping your child. If your child's got a challenge with reading, and he's a very hands-on learner, and I'm presuming from this that the home language is Afrikaans, and when to start with the second language. When, like you Afrikaans speaking, do you teach them Afrikaans to read Afrikaans, or teach them to read English? Which comes first? If you're Afrikaans speaking, what do? Do you teach them to read Afrikaans, or do you teach them to read English? You don't know the answer to that. You're not sure, let's say. Well, I'm not either, because it's so dependent again on the family. You know, do you as a family feel your children need to be able to be very well established in English and they can read anything English, or do you want them to have their heritage and their culture and their home language? They want them to be able to read it because you've got some good books in your personal library. You want them to be able to read. You want them to be able to have the skill and the ability to read Afrikaans. And they speak Afrikaans already. Well, to me, if I was Afrikaans, I'd be teaching them Afrikaans first, because that would just be the natural next step. But if I was convicted and God said, I don't need you to spend your time on doing that, they must learn to speak English. I mean, read in English. Don't worry about teaching them to read Afrikaans. Well, then that's what I would do. So I just want to take this off this a little bit and just say to you, please, I want you to think about how you're spending your hours in each day. Because I'd like to suggest that you give your children a chance to be children and play and learn naturally the way children do anyway. Again, I pick on Catherine because she's got little ones and she hasn't got a curriculum to teach them to read English. To speak English, should I say. And they're learning all day long because they're playing together. Because they're just little, 3 and 2 or something like that. So now, if she starts taking her 3-year-old and sitting and teaching her alphabet, what's the point? Why do that? If you see what I'm saying. I mean, I know there's a different view on that. You can teach them from very young and this, but I'm asking, is it necessary to be sitting, putting knowledge and information and facts into children's heads when they're 85 and they've got to learn about how to run their iPad? They can learn in half an hour. And you spent years sitting doing lessons for something that is of no relevance. I'm asking you to check if it's of relevance. I mean, obviously, if you teach them to read and do maths, but now I'm talking about a history lesson or geography lesson, and you're teaching them about corrosion and erosion. I mean to say erosion, not corrosion. That was the wrong word. Now you're teaching them all this stuff about erosion for what? For why? Are they going to be a geologist when they're older? Well, then they're going to find out about erosion then. But rather spend the time with them teaching them of the Word of God. If you're going to be spending a lot of time with your children, having intentional time with them, teach them about the Word and teach them about God and teach them about His creation and teach them about that and teach them about how to acquire the knowledge they need when they're older. Rather than spending so much time on tears and struggling through the curriculum and struggling through the book and thinking that as a mom you've got to make sure that you've got them their such and such skills, because when they go to grade 000, they've got to be able to hold a pencil. Otherwise they're going to have fine motor deficiency. That's what moms are hearing. And they're going to be a new name. What's the new name for phobia? Some phobia, some addiction. Sorry? FOMO. That's a new one today for me. FOMO. Fear of missing out. It's a new disease. And then you've got somebody phoned me a little while ago and said that her child is dyscalculate, I think. And I thought, okay, I know about dyslexia, but I don't know about dyscalculia. But I gathered it's something to do with maths, because it said calculate in the word. But I don't know what dyscalculia is. There such a thing as dyscalculate? Okay, so now you must watch out, because you don't want your child to be dyscalculate. So start teaching them maths when they're 2, just to be sure that they're not going to be dyscalculate when they're 4. Because, they need to be able to balance the books. Do you see? I mean, really, get God's perspective on it. Are we not taking on a whole lot of, somebody said it earlier, it was you, just a whole lot of, you used a strong word, I can't remember what it was. Junk. Is that a bad word? Okay. You're taking a whole lot of junk on. For what purpose? You know, it's just be careful. And at the end of the day, why I have this gift to give you, is that at the end of the day, when we went, put our heads down on our pillow, what was our day filled with, and what were we thankful for? It was the time we had spent with God and the fact that we had done what He needed us to do that day. It wasn't me checking off my checklist that I had done maths, science, geography, history. That wasn't God's checklist. And like at lunch break, that we were talking with Jamie and asked him what is the greatest thing, his greatest strength from being home educated. And his answer is, what is his answer?
My faith.
His faith. The Word of God. If your 17-year-old boy can have been through the Word of God from Genesis to Revelations over and over and over, and wants to, and can't be without it, and has to read the Word every day before he goes, if that's what you have achieved, then that's the time that was spent. Not what grade he got with his maths and how many levels he got through. And what facts does he know from history, from the history book, or from the geography book? What does he know from that? What has he memorized? Of what significance is it? This is what I want to ask. But why I'm asking you this is I'm saying, please don't spend time, hours and hours every day, on doing something that is not significant to God today and not going to be in the future either.